If you're ready to have a good time, say uh-huh. If you're ready to have a good time, say uh-huh. Look to your neighbor and say, neighbor, making money is easy. Look to your other neighbor and say, neighbor, my other neighbor needs a Tic Tac. All right, you guys heard my wonderful introduction. If you're an NBA fan, raise your hand. All right, so I feel at home. So if you've seen all my highlights on Sports Center, raise your hand. If you've seen all of my commercials, raise your hand. If you have never heard of me before in your life as an NBA player, raise your hand. All right, let's get right down to business. When people talk about professional sports, they only talk about the superstars. So when we do talk about the NBA, who do we always talk about? Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan. When we talk about the NFL, who do we talk about? Drew Brees. When we talk about golf, who do we talk about? We talk about one person. Now, when you get back home, I want you to do a search of your favorite teams and look at their rosters the last 10 years. And here's what you'll find. While everyone else focuses on the superstars, there's only a handful of them. They're an ultra-small minority group. Here's the truth. Professional sports are really made up of guys like me. So what I want to do today is tell you my story, but most importantly, give you some information that can help you build your business. How about that? I believe making money is easy. When I left the NBA and got into business, I doubled my NBA income in 3 years. So Advocare, I want you to get ready. I want you to sit back and buckle up because we're going for a ride. How about that? But before I get started, I need some attitude. So if you want to have a good time, say uh-huh. If you're ready to have a good time, say uh-huh. You guys are ready. Here's your typical NBA story. You guys all heard it before. Young black man grows up in the rough and tough inner city, the ghetto, the projects. He plays his way out the ghetto into the NBA and breaks the curse of poverty forever, only to go broke again. If you've heard that story before, say uh-huh. Lesson number one, if you want to be successful in business, cut off the news. Here's what I know. The media's job is not to tell us the truth. The media's job is to make money. The media has figured out that America is addicted to negative information, so every night at 6, what do we get? Think about it, people. When's the last time you watched the news, turned to your wife, husband, significant other, and said, honey, I feel real good about America? When you cut off the news, you're sad, you're depressed, and nothing is ever good news. Am I right or wrong? Lesson number one, cut off the news. If you paid attention to the media, you would think every black guy was raised by a single mom in the ghetto. I was recently at a conference and a woman grabbed me in the hallway and this is what she said. She says, wow, it was so good to see you doing well. She said, I thought all athletes struggled when they were done playing sports. I said, miss, you only hear about the athletes who struggle. I doubled my NBA income in business. Really? Yeah, really. Lesson number one, cut off the news. I'm gonna tell you my story this morning, this afternoon, and I promise you, you've never heard my story before in your life. Here it goes. I grew up in the rough and tough inner cities of Chicago. And I had a rough childhood, and here's why. My father was 6'6", 240 pounds. My father said what he meant, and he meant every single word he said. We live in what I call the timeout generation. All of a sudden, we've been reading books and watching Oprah. We got a new way to raise kids. I see parents all over America counting. Oh, hand up, if you don't knock it off, mommy's gonna give you a timeout. I'm gonna count to 3, and if you don't have your fanny in that seat, I'm gonna give you a timeout. 1, 2, 2.5. You know what I realized? Timeouts have been around for a long, long time. My daddy gave timeouts. His timeouts were different. My daddy was a country boy from Tennessee, moved to Chicago to raise his family. Now, don't get the wrong idea. My daddy didn't freak out about little stuff, but when we had it coming to us, we had it coming to us. My sister never got in trouble. It was always my brother and I. My mother would say this, wait until your father gets home. You guys remember that? Man, that was cruel because you couldn't enjoy the rest of your day, could you? Because you knew when daddy got home, it was on. The funny thing about my daddy, he only owned 3 belts. He had a black belt for his black shoes, he had a brown belt for his brown shoes, and he had a 3rd belt I never ever saw him wear with clothes. And now I come to realize that belt wasn't for him, it was for us. And again, my dad didn't freak out about little stuff, and we had it coming to us, we had it coming to us. And this is how our timeouts went. He would go into his closet and grab his favorite leather belt. And he would spank me and my brother till he got tired. And then my daddy would take a time out. Honey, by the time I was 12 or 13, he could just look at us and we straighten up. It got so bad, I would say, Dad, I'm gonna spank myself this time. Don't even worry about it. I thank God for those timeouts, and here's why. You don't have to worry about a bomb kid playing hooky. You have to worry about a bomb kid talking back in school. You have to worry about a bomb kid stealing the thing. You wouldn't have to worry about a bomb kid sagging his pants so you can see the crack of his butt. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying go home and beat your kids. Because some of you guys are looking at me and say, yeah, I can't wait to get home. What I do advocate is to make sure your children can hear your voice. I could always hear my daddy's voice. You have children, you have grandchildren. Can your children and grandchildren hear your voice? I could always hear my daddy's voice. He would say, go out, have a good time, play with your friends, but don't let the street lights beat you home. When those street lights come on, don't be on the front steps, don't be in the driveway, have your butt in the house. Clear instructions. Go out, have a good time, play with your friends, but don't let the street lights beat you home. When those street lights come on, don't be on the front steps, don't be in the driveway, have your butt in the house. So one day we're in the park playing football. The game was tied 49-49. It was a good football game. All the kids from the neighborhood were playing. The teams were evenly matched. And me and my brother figured out when Chicago streetlights come on, they click and make a humming sound. Click, hum. And they take about 3 to 5 minutes to fully illuminate. So me and my brother knew we had 3 to 5 minutes to get our butt home. So we're in the park playing football. The game was tied to 49-49. And all of a sudden, me and my brother heard the click and humming sound of Chicago streetlights. Click, hum. Everybody else ran to the huddle for the next play. Me and my brother just stared at each other, paralyzed in fear. And every single time, one of my friends, I can't remember if it was Pookie or Ray Ray. You didn't grow up with a Pookie or a Ray Ray? They would say something like this, Walter Lewis, don't leave now, the game is tied. All right, next touchdown wins. Me and my brother knew a touchdown could take 15, 20 minutes. So we had another voice competing with our father's voice. We had another voice competing with our father's voice. We had another voice competing with our father's voice. I'm happy to announce my daddy was undefeated. Can your children hear your voice? Here's why it's important, because when they go to school, their peers are talking in the lunch line. They're talking on the school bus. They're talking at lunchtime. They're talking at recess, installing their value system into your children. But if your children can hear your voice, they won't adopt a value system that's not congruent with you and your family's value system. I could always hear my daddy's voice. My daddy was a 6'6", 240-pound high school principal who said what he meant and meant what he said. I was not raised by a single mom. I didn't play my way out the ghetto. I was going to college anyway. If I needed some money, I would say, yo, Pops, I need some money. My daddy drove Lincoln Continentals as long as this stage. So please be careful what you allow the media to teach you. If you rely on the media as your only source of information, you will buy into every stereotype known to man. Here's where my life got tricky. I remember the first day of high school. My mother dressed me up in a nice outfit, and I walked in the first day of school just like this. The one thing I learned about playing the NBA, hear me and hear me good, if you got a notepad, write this down. Confidence is arrogance under control. That's all confidence is. The only thing I miss about the NBA is being around 15 people all day long who are thoroughly convinced they're the best in the world at what they do. That's the only thing I miss about the NBA. I don't miss the money because I make more. I don't miss the travel because I travel more. The only thing I miss about the NBA is being around 15 people all day long who are thoroughly convinced they're the best in the world at what they do. When I left sports and got into the real world, I began to realize that people struggle with confidence. I hate to pick on ladies, but ladies, you are so hard on each other. You hear women say this all the time. I cannot stand that woman right there. Oh, she gets on my nerves. I mean, she thinks she's all that. Ladies, you know I'm telling the truth. In fact, help me finish this statement. Who does she think she is? Well, let me help you out. Michael Jordan knew who he was. LeBron James knows who he is. See, the only way someone's confidence can offend or annoy you is if you struggle with your own confidence. Confident people don't bother me. Confident people don't offend me. I love confident people, but this is what you should be careful of. Don't you ever cross that line into arrogance. Because arrogant people stop growing, arrogant people stop developing, because arrogant people think they have arrived. Be as confident as you can be without crossing the line into arrogance. So I walked into high school the first day of school full of confidence until I passed the principal's office, and he was 6'6", 240 pounds. Everybody else called him Mr. Bond, but I called him Dad. That was the longest day of my life. I went to the lunchroom and ate lunch all by myself. I could hear my classmates whisper, "That's the principal's son. That's the principal's son." Where? Right there. I couldn't wait to get home. I made up my mind, when I get home, I'm going to throw a pity party. You guys don't know me that well, but when I party, I know how to party. I'm the only motivational speaker that you will ever meet that will advocate a pity party. I came home that first day of school, closed my bedroom door, and I brought out my boombox. I'm 43. The technology of my time was a boombox. If you had a boombox in high school, you were cool. Now I know we have some older people here and you look confused. Raise your hands if you played records in high school. 33s, 45s, 78s. Raise both hands if you had an 8-track tape player in high school. Some of you guys used to crank your music, didn't you? I got home that first day of school, closed my bedroom door, and I brought my boombox out, and I invited Lionel Richie to my pity party. The words had nothing to do with my situation, but it didn't matter. I just wanted to throw a pity party. And Lionel Richie was always there to help me. Hello? Is it me you're looking for? For I wonder where you are, and I wonder what you do. Does anybody know what I did after the song was over? I played it again. I played that song over and over and over again, over and over and over again, over and over and over again. And that's what a pity party is when you have an undisciplined mind and you meditate on the wrong thing over and over and over again, over and over and over again. There you are, Mr. and Mrs. Advocate. You go on a sales call, and all of a sudden this couple who you knew were perfect for the business, they turned you down, and you went home and threw a pity party. I don't like the feeling of rejection. I don't like that feeling of being rejected. Why did my husband drag me into this business? Here's what I know about life. I give you 3 days to throw a pity party, and that's it. If you're going to throw a pity party, I give you 3 days, and that's it. And after 3 days, you cut off your boombox, your 8-track tape, your record player, your iPod, your MP3, and you come up with a plan. I threw me a good old pity party, and after 3 days, I cut off my boombox, and I came up with a plan. I'm going back to high school. I'll be starting a baseball team, basketball team, football team, president of the journalism club, and my classmates will vote me most likely to succeed. See, some of you guys came here throwing pity parties. I'm here to tell you, you need to stop your pity party, because in 365 days, it's going to be you and your wife on the stage telling us your testimony. By the time I graduated from high school, I was star of the baseball team, basketball team, football team, president of the journalism club, and my classmates voted me most likely to succeed, and I heard through the grapevine all the girls thought I was cute. I made one mistake. I crossed the line of confidence and I became arrogant. Those who exalt themselves will be humbled. I became one of the top basketball players in the country. When I played high school basketball and I walked in the gym, my classmates would chant my name, and they stood on their feet and they would chant my name when I walked in the gym. Walter, 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 Walter. Yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about right there. Oh, I make myself sick thinking about how arrogant I became. Here's the good news, though. By being one of the top basketball players in the country, I got recruited by the top basketball coaches in America, and that is how I learned how to sell. College basketball coaches and football coaches are the greatest salesmen on this earth. They've been going into living room for decades, and they know how to close deals. Here's what they know that you might not know. If you have a notepad, write this down. They don't sell tangible products, they sell hopes and dreams. Stop selling products and start selling hopes and dreams. I get calls all the time in my office, people looking for a motivational speaker, and they have a typical conversation. What's your fee? What's your topic? Are you available? And I flip the script because I don't want them thinking about me. I want them thinking about themselves in their meeting. So I ask a question, well, tell me about your group. Oh, you're going to be in Fort Worth, 13,000 people? Okay. Highly motivated and hungry professionals. Okay. And you want me to shut it down on Saturday afternoon. Okay. And I make a statement every single time and I close the deal. I plan on being the best motivational speaker your group has ever heard. When you get done with me, you're going to have a hard time following me up next year. And that's perfect because I have a follow-up keynote to the one I'm going to give you in the first place. When I tell a meeting planner I plan on being the best motivational speaker she's ever had, what meeting planner is going to say, well, Walter, we're not really looking for that this year. We really had our mind set on someone average to mediocre. We were really hoping for someone to come and put our people to sleep right before dinner. When I make that statement to a meeting planner, they can't say no. I plan on being the best motivational speaker you've ever had. See, I understand about selling. I don't sell tangible products. I sell hopes and dreams. Stop selling product and start selling hopes and dreams. The college coaches would come into my house. They would ring the doorbell and I was sprawling on the couch. Who was it today, Mom? I can't keep track, Mom. Who is it today? And they would always come in a pack of 3. They always wore a university-issued golf shirt. They would always plop down a colorful brochure on the coffee table. And I began to collect brochures, and I began to notice there was always 4 students on the brochure. 2 white, 1 Asian, and 1 African American every single time. Then I began to notice that some kids were on different schools' brochures. So either you're really, really committed to education, or you are a model. And after a while, these coaches would come in and out of our living room. And I noticed something very important. When they left the house, my mom and dad and I would debrief the conversation. We would debrief the meeting. When you leave a couple, before you even get back in your car, they're going to debrief the meeting, and they're going to talk about you. My mom and dad and I would sit around the kitchen table, and our conversation always started like this. Well, what did we think? Did we like them? Very first question. The likability factor is the best kept secret in business. People want to do business with people they like. People want to work with people they like. People want to be led by people they like. When you go out and recruit, help me help you. Recruit likable people. Because likable people are people magnets. When I was a little boy, my mother would say, Walter, you could always brighten up a room. Your personality, your spirit, your continence, you could always brighten up a room. I've turned it into a business. Now I brighten up ballrooms. But here's my challenge for you. Do you brighten up a room when you enter? See, some people just naturally brighten up a room when they enter. But I also know this. Some people brighten up a room when they leave. So this is a rhetorical question. Do you brighten up a room when you enter, or do you brighten up a room when you leave? If I were you building my team, I would recruit likable people who brighten up a room. The likability factor is the best kept secret in business. I used to poll my customers, why did you select me to be your keynote speaker? Why did you select me? You had thousands of choices. Why did you select me? And 20% of my customers, 20% of my revenue all said the same thing. Walter, we saw your website, we saw your marketing materials, and we fell in love with your smile. I left sports and thought business was so complicated. 20% of my revenue comes from a smile. Advocate, I'm no dummy. Everywhere I go, I had a woman come to me, she says, Walter, you should smile. You have a wonderful smile. I said, I should have a nice smile. I paid for it. In the NBA, you get your teeth rattled a couple of times and you have to get them fixed. And she says, well, teeth are so expensive. I said, I get that. Well, why don't you buy 1 tooth at a time until you got a whole grill? Advocate, make sure you brighten up a room. Make sure you always smile, because people want to do business with people they like. Recruit likable people who can brighten up a room. So after a while, all these coaches came in and out of my living room. And we would always debrief the conversation, but after a while, they began to look alike, act alike, and sound just alike. They began to look alike, act alike, and sound just alike. I don't know about you, I hate to make tough decisions. I love to make no-brainers. I can go the rest of my life without ever making another tough decision. I love no-brainers. So if I'm a couple, if I'm a young man looking for a business to make some money, is Advocate a tough decision, or is it a no-brainer? It is your job to make sure it is not a tough decision. It is your job collectively, all 13,000 of you, to make sure that Advocate is not a tough decision. It is a no-brainer. So I'm about to make the tough decision of my life, and nobody stood out. But all of a sudden, my luck changed. The doorbell rang, and a guy came into my home named Clem Haskins from the University of Minnesota. He walked into my home. Three-piece suit, fresh haircut, looked like success, looked like money. He looked like success, he looked like money. He looked like success, he looked like money. He passed the eyeball test. Let me help you out. Human nature says this: the moment I set my eyes on you, I place a value on you, including a dollar amount. The second time I evaluate you is when you open up your mouth. So if you're not that smart, look good and be quiet. So if people evaluate you the moment they look at you, isn't it important for you to pass the eyeball test? You're going into someone's home saying, look, I have a financial opportunity for you to make sure your mom or your wife can stay home and manage the kids. I have an opportunity for you where you can leave your full-time job and have flexibility to carve out the life that you want. So when they look at you, they should be able to see a person who's successful in front of them. Does that make sense? I know some of you guys are thinking, well, it doesn't take all that, but let me help you out with human nature. Humans are humans, and they react a certain way. How many times you've been on the golf course, see 4 guys golfing, you don't know them from Adam, but they look like successful business people. They just look like successful business people. The moment we look at someone, we place a value on you. The moment someone sees you, they're going to place a value on you. So you should always look like success. You should always look like money. You should always pass the eyeball test. My coach came into my house. All the other coaches wore university-issued golf shirts. He came into my house, looked like success, looked like money, passed the eyeball test. Before he opened up his mouth, he had an advantage over the competition. He came into my house, did not even acknowledge my presence, went in the kitchen and started talking to my mom first. He found out my mother is a native of Kentucky. Clem Haskins is a native of Kentucky. He stood in that kitchen, and all he talked about was Kentucky. He didn't talk about playing time. He didn't talk about graduation rates. He didn't even have a colorful brochure. He did not talk about Spark or jail. All he talked about was Kentucky. He found out my mother's best friend in college was his wife's first cousin. Oh, he's a bad boy. I'm not even done yet. I have a big sister named Jamea Bond who played college basketball herself. She played at USC with a girl named Cheryl Miller. My big sister won 2 national championships playing college basketball. I got a tough house. My sister has more championship rings than I do. But Clem Haskins had a daughter who was a high school All-American. She visited USC, and my big sister was our host at her recruiting trip. My sister's 6 years older than me, which means he took time and did research on my family. Before you sit down with the couple, how much time do you spend doing research on that family? We have Facebook nowadays. We have Twitter nowadays. We have LinkedIn nowadays. Stop showing pictures of your meal and do some research on what people... Okay, you had a chicken breast and broccoli. I get that. And it was good. I get that. But let's use social media to our advantage and do research on the couple or the family or the individuals we're trying to sell on joining your team. Does that make sense? In 30 minutes, he had my mom eating out the palm of his hands. He got done with my mom and started talking to my dad. He said, Mr. Bond, I run my program with order. My dad ran his high school with order. Mr. Bond, I run my program with discipline. My dad ran his high school with discipline. And here's how he closed the deal. He said, Mr. Bond, I don't know about you, but I'm a country boy from down south. He knew my daddy was a country boy from down south. I'm on the couch watching this whole thing in slow motion. He said, Mr. Bond, I might lose you right now, but I got to shoot you straight. All these other coaches came in here and guaranteed your son a starting position. Not me, Mr. Bond, I'm a little different. If Walter plays for me, he gets nothing free. If Walter plays for me, he must earn his playing time. See, when you recruit someone, you bring them into the business, be honest with them. This is not an overnight get-rich scheme. You got to work hard and build your business. An inheritance gained quickly will not be blessed in the end anyway. You got to spend time building your business. A business is just like a tree. When you plant a tree, you have to water, you have to nurture, and you have to wait for that root system to grow. But if you keep nurturing and watering that tree, over time, that tree can become a forest. I'm looking at a forest right now, so I know what I'm talking about. He said, Mr. Bond, I run my program with order, I run my program with discipline, and Walter plays for me. He must earn his playing time. I don't know about you, Mr. Bond, but I'm a country boy from down south. And that's how my mama and daddy raised me. And right before he left the house, he says, Walter Bond, all state from Chicago, you are the key to my recruiting class, son. If I get you to my campus, you are the key. He didn't sell me a tangible product, did he? He sold me a hope and a dream. He left the house, we gathered around the kitchen table. All of a sudden, I took charge of this meeting because I knew I didn't have a tough decision anymore. All of a sudden, I had a no-brainer. And I said, Mom, what did you think, Mom? He said, child, please, everybody knows Clem Haskins in Kentucky. He's a legend in Kentucky. I've been hearing about that man my whole life. Katie been telling me about that man. Did you see how he pronounced Jermaiah's name perfectly? Walter, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm not trying to get into your business. But I really like him. I turned to my daddy and said, Dad, what'd you think? See, I really respected my daddy. My daddy was a quiet man. But when he spoke, he was like E.F. Hutton. Remember that commercial? When E.F. Hutton speaks, people, when you speak, don't you want people to? So let me help you make sure people listen to you. It's not the quantity of your words, it's the quality and the equity of your words that they possess. When you speak words of equity to a person, they will listen to every word you say. My dad didn't talk all the time, but when he spoke, it was good. When my daddy spoke, everybody would be quiet. And I said, Daddy, what'd you think? My dad wanted to make a point. He pointed his finger at you. I like him, son. I like him a lot, and here's why. He looked me in my eye when he talked to me, son. That might not be a big thing to you, son, but I was taught that your eyes are the gateway to your soul. My mom and daddy taught me, don't you ever trust a man who won't look you in the eye.